I'm Donna Bush with your CIG TV News Brief and weather forecast. I thank you as always for being here with us. On Wednesday morning, upcoming changes to regulations related to quarantine restrictions were announced by Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
I'm extremely pleased to also announce that we have reached a much anticipated milestone in the delivery of our program, in that we have now vaccinated well over 91% of those in our population over the age of 60. This gives us confidence that the most vulnerable have been protected from the worst of the COVID-19 disease. With this target having been met, I am able to announce today that from the 22nd of March, the required quarantine period will be reduced from 14 to 10 days for those who have completed a valid vaccination program at least 2 weeks before traveling to the Cayman Islands, provided that everyone in their quarantine group has also been vaccinated. Other requirements are that a traveler must provide a negative PCR test that was taken no more than 72 hours prior to departure. A negative PCR test is also completed when arriving on island, and the traveler is staying in a group where all people have received a full course of the vaccination.
His Excellency Governor Martin Roper, Minister for Health, the Honourable Dwayne Seymour, and Minister for Finance, the Honourable Roy McTaggart, all spoke about various issues surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic.
As the Premier has said, it is wonderful news that 90% of our over 60s have now been vaccinated, and that means we are now able to begin reducing the mandatory quarantine period for incoming vaccinated travellers from 14 to 10 days, and it is the start of a cautious, gradual and safe opening up of the islands that we all very much want. I'm also very pleased that as a result of the supply of the Pfizer vaccines from the UK, we were able last week to further open the supply of vaccines to anyone over the age of 16.
The uptake has been amazing, and we want to continue this trend as we do all that we can do to continue our current direction in this regard. Many thanks to our public health professionals who continue to do an amazing job with administering the vaccines. We thank you.
Much earlier in the 2020 financial year, government was faced with the possibility of having a deficit as high as $168 million. I've said previously, and I report again, I'm pleased to say that the 2020 deficit is substantially less than the $168 million feared earlier in the year. The unaudited financial results show that central government itself ended the 2020 financial year with an operating deficit of approximately $38 million. This is comprised of operating revenues of $789 million and operating expenses, financing costs, and other costs of $827 million. It is particularly pleasing to report that the shortfall in revenue for the year was only $35 million compared to our budget.
And you can watch the entire press briefing only here on CIG television and on our YouTube channel on demand. Well, following a recent recruitment process, the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation and Maritime Affairs has announced the appointment of Dr. Tasha Ebanks-Garcia to represent the Cayman Islands government in the United Kingdom. As a UK representative, Dr. Ebanks-Garcia will lead the Cayman Islands government office based in London and oversee the staff cohort. Now, the office serves numerous functions to advance the interest of the government and the people of the Cayman Islands. These include representational duties such as facilitating interactions with elected leaders via Cayman's all-party parliamentary group and representing the Cayman Islands within the UK Overseas Territories Association, promoting investment in the Cayman Islands, fostering understanding of Cayman's unique economy, heritage, and culture, aiding CIG ministries with external affairs in the UK, and providing services to Caymanians overseas, primarily students. We say a huge congratulations to Dr. Tasha Ebanks-Garcia on her new appointment. Taking a look at our forecast, today's high temperature reached 83 degrees, the low 74. We can expect partly cloudy skies, becoming cloudy at times with a 30% chance of passing showers. Winds are northeasterly at 20 to 25 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 7 to 9 feet. Seas are rough with wave heights of 7 to 9 feet, and a marine warning, of course, is in effect, as just mentioned. Now, the synopsis calls for fresh to strong northeasterly winds and rough seas, which will continue across the Cayman area for the next few days in association with a strong high pressure system over the southeastern United States. Additionally, cloudy conditions are expected to linger in our area. Radar images show scattered showers around the Cayman Islands area that are moving towards the southwest. Remember, the Weather Services app, CINWS, can be downloaded, or you can go to their website, weather.gov.ky, for the latest weather forecast. That ends today's news brief here on CIG Television. I'm Donna Bush, as always, inviting you to join us again tomorrow. Until then, have a safe and wonderful night.
I'm Jody Ann Powery. I'm the Police Media Officer with the RCIPS, and I'm here to give you some crime prevention tips on how to best protect your property. The first thing that we want to discuss is our points of entries. Let's start with the front door, and then we'll move on to the windows and the back doors or sliding glass doors. The first thing to consider is the front door. This particular front door has 2 deadbolt locks. One of these deadbolt locks are properly carpentered and the other is not. When your door is properly locked, you'll hear a click at the end and the deadbolts are not able to move. If it is slightly opened, then you can push the deadbolt back without having any restrictions. I'll now proceed to show you what your lock should look like when it is properly locked. When it comes to your windows, you want to make sure that your window is locked all the way down, because even though the lock is on, if it's not all the way down, it can still be pried. The proper way to lock the window is to make sure that the window goes all the way down to the seal and then you pull across the lock. When you have a sliding glass door at home, you want to make sure that you have secondary locking devices in addition to the lock that comes with the door. One of those can be a simple piece of wood that's jamming the doorway. We want to encourage you to ensure that you don't make things easy for burglars who are looking for opportunities to break into property by leaving your property out in plain view. Some of these items are your car keys, your electronics, and your handbags. Make sure that you put these properties away when you're leaving the house or when you're going to bed. When you're going camping, or if you're taking your family on a trip, you want to ensure that your property has some sign of life. This can be done by leaving a light on or putting timers on your lights. And we want to ensure that our family homes are safe. In order to do so, we encourage that people take the proper precautions by starting up neighborhood watches or encouraging family members or persons they trust to check on their properties while they're away.
Join Donna Bush weekdays at 6 p.m. for the CIG TV News Update. Get the latest on what's happening in government on a daily basis.
The Esterly Tibbetts Highway 3-lane roundabout is ready for drivers. It's time to make sure you know how to use it. First, know which exit you need to take. Pay attention to lane arrows and signs. Make sure you use your signal to change lanes or exit the roundabout. To turn left, you always approach in the left-hand lane and indicate left. To drive straight ahead, you need to be looking out for signs and road markings indicating which lane to use. Get in one of the lanes marked with a straight-through arrow. If turning right, you must use the right-hand lane and indicate accordingly. To use the roundabout safely, remember these 3 tips. Know your exit, pick your lane, and signal to make your turn.